My name's Aaron, and until about a year ago, I thought I was going to marry the love of my life. Her name was Ellie. We met during grad school. She was wild in that impulsive, artistic kind of way that made you feel like gravity didn't matter. I was the stable one. The boring one, I guess. Back then, she said she loved that about me. I never know where my head is, she'd laugh, wrapping her arms around my neck. You're my anchor, Aaron. And I believed her. We'd been together for 6 years. Bought a condo together. Got a dog, Max, a stubborn bulldog who loved her more than life itself. We were planning a wedding in the fall. Nothing huge. Just our closest people, a vineyard, and a string quartet because Ellie said acoustic guitars made her cry in public. But then her sister Ava came to town. Ava was the kind of woman who walked into a room and made you feel underdressed even if you were wearing a tux. Loud, glamorous, ruthless. Everything was a competition with her: career, style, love. She was always chasing the next high-end thing. She moved to Paris 2 years ago, started posting those Instagram influencer-type reels about how Americans settle for less, how European men are sophisticated and generous, and how life's too short to be comfortable. Ellie used to laugh at that. But once Ava came back for a visit, something shifted. She crashed with us for a week. By day 3, she was redecorating our place without asking. By day 5, she was whispering poison into Ellie's ears. Come on, I overheard her say once, when she thought I was asleep. You really want to marry a guy who thinks Olive Garden is a fun night out? I'll admit, I'm not flashy. I like what I like. I work in finance, and yeah, sometimes I wear the same gray sweaters on repeat. I thought that made me reliable, safe. But Ava made it sound like a curse. That Friday, I came home early with tickets to an art show Ellie had wanted to see. And I found them, Ava and Ellie, drinking wine in the kitchen, laughing. I'll never forget the look Ava gave me. Pity. Like I was the unwanted guest in my own home. Baby, Ellie said, putting her glass down. Can we talk? You ever feel the floor move before you fall? Like your gut knows it before your brain catches up? She said she needed space. That she wasn't sure anymore. That being with me felt like settling, and Ava had offered to take her back to Europe for the summer. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just stared at her. You're calling off the engagement? I asked, even though I already knew. She said maybe it wasn't forever. Just, she needed to figure out who she really was. And being with me made her feel like she was disappearing. The ring was still on her finger. She took it off that night and placed it on the counter before walking out with 2 suitcases and a duffel bag. Max waited at the door for 3 days. He whined every time a car passed by. The silence in our home was like fog, thick, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. I didn't block her. I didn't rage. I just let her go. Because if someone looks at you and says being with you is a prison, you don't try to make them stay. But I'll tell you this, I never expected what came next. 2 months later, I get a message. From Ava. You were right about her, it said. And then just a photo. Ellie. Crying on a train platform. Alone. That's when I knew. Something had gone seriously wrong. Ava's message sat in my inbox for 2 days before I responded. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I just didn't know what the hell to say. You were right about her, she'd written. In that photo, Ellie sitting on a cold bench in what looked like a Paris metro station, makeup smeared, head in her hands. I stared at it for hours. Not because I still loved her, not anymore. Not after the way she left. But because I couldn't understand what the hell had gone wrong. Eventually, I wrote back. What happened? Ava replied in less than a minute. She'll tell you herself. She's back in New York. Crashed at my place for a night, but she's your problem now. That was it. I didn't respond again. I didn't need to. But that night, I walked into my building lobby, and there she was. Ellie. Same tousled hair, same dark green coat. But she looked older. Worn. She was hugging herself like she couldn't get warm, even though it was August. She stood up the moment she saw me. Max, of course, barked his damn heart out and practically pulled me across the tile floor to get to her. She dropped to her knees, crying harder than I'd ever seen. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know who I was without you. And I let her convince me that was a bad thing. I didn't say anything. I didn't touch her. Just stood there, holding Max's leash, watching the woman I was supposed to marry fall apart in front of the doorman and 2 people waiting for the elevator. Eventually, I walked past her. Got in the elevator. Max hesitated, turning back to look at her. But when I said, come, he followed me inside. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she, because I know she stayed in the lobby for hours. Security told me later. said they felt sorry for her, but building policy is policy. Next morning, I got a knock at my door. I opened it expecting a package. It was Ellie, eyes bloodshot, hair pulled back in a shaky bun. She was holding a single brown grocery bag. "I'm not here to stay," she said quickly. I want to explain. Please." I should have slammed the door. I wanted to, but I didn't. 5 minutes, I said. She stepped inside like it was still her home. Looked around like she expected something to be different. Nothing was. Everything was exactly the same, except now, her toothbrush was gone. Her art supplies weren't in the corner, and her wine glasses had been boxed and thrown in the back of my closet. She sat on the edge of the couch, like a guest. I stood, and then she talked. Turns out, Ava's European dream was a pipe fantasy built on borrowed time and Instagram lies. The rich French boyfriend Ava had bragged about? He proposed to her, then vanished 2 weeks later when he found out she was nearly $80,000 in debt. The same week he disappeared, Ava kicked Ellie out of her tiny Paris flat because she needed space to recover. Ellie had no savings. She'd burned through her account on designer clothes, expensive cafes, and weekend trips Ava insisted she had to take if she ever wanted to know real freedom. Turns out freedom doesn't come with a return ticket when the money runs out. No one wanted to help me, she said quietly. Not my friends. Not Ava. Not even that guy I was seeing for a while. I blinked. Wait. What guy? Her eyes flicked up at me. Regret. Guilt. Panic. All in one look. I didn't cheat, she said quickly. I swear. We kissed a few times. He was just exciting. At first. I nodded slowly. You left your fiancé for a few kisses with a stranger and your sister's delusion of a European fairy tale. I know, she whispered, and I hate myself every second for it. We sat in silence. Then she pulled something out of her coat pocket. The engagement ring. I carried it the whole time, she said. I couldn't let it go. Not because I thought you'd take me back. I just couldn't believe I gave up everything for nothing. I didn't take it from her. I'm not here to ask for anything, she added quickly. I'm staying at a hostel tonight. Just wanted you to know I'm back. That I'm sorry. And that I miss Max. Max, the little traitor, was already curled up at her feet, snoring. I let her finish. Then I opened the door. She stood, nodded, walked out without another word. I told myself that was the end. But 2 days later, my mom texted me. Why is Ellie saying she has nowhere to go? What happened between you two? And I realized then she was already rewriting the story. But I wasn't going to let her. Not this time. When my mom texted me, I stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. Why is Ellie saying she has nowhere to go? What happened between you two? That's when I knew Ellie wasn't just back. She was already rewriting the narrative. Casting herself as the lost soul, the tragic heroine who got swept up in something she didn't understand. What I wasn't going to do was let her family, or mine, believe that I had done something to drive her away. I didn't respond to my mom's text. Instead, I opened Instagram. Ellie's account was still public. Her latest story? A blurry selfie of her and Max, my dog, who she'd apparently visited while I was out running errands earlier that day. He was on the lobby bench next to her, tongue out, tail wagging. Caption. He still remembers me. Broken heart, some things never change. Hashtag home is a feeling. I nearly threw my phone across the room. Max might have remembered her, but I sure as hell hadn't forgotten what she did. Still, part of me felt like I was playing defense in a game I didn't even agree to join. She could waltz back into town, parade herself like the prodigal fiancé, and now suddenly I was the villain for her. What? Not taking her back immediately? A few hours later, I got a call. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then came a voicemail. Aaron, it's Ellie's mom. Can we talk? Now that surprised me. Ellie's mom had always liked me. She was one of the few voices of reason in their very loud, very opinionated family. She'd once told Ellie, during a Thanksgiving dinner, that men like Aaron don't grow on trees, you know. Most women would kill for calm, steady, and faithful. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Aaron, thank God. What's going on? I asked. She's staying with me, she sighed. Came here in tears yesterday. Told me you kicked her out of your apartment and said she was never welcome again. I didn't answer right away. She left me, I said, for a fantasy life in Europe that Ava sold her. She broke off the engagement. Then came back with a sob story and expected what, a second chance? Like nothing happened. I know, Ellie's mom said gently. I told her she was being naive. Honestly, I'm furious with her. But she's still my daughter. And right now, she's broke, scared, and one step away from living in shelters. She burned that bridge. I'm not asking you to forgive her, she said. But if she tries to twist this into something it's not, I want you to know I'm not buying it. I know you. And I know the kind of man you are. I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear that until she said it. Thank you, I replied. That means more than I can say. We hung up soon after, and I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The next evening, I got home to find a letter taped to my door. It was handwritten, 4 pages long. No envelope. Just Aaron scribbled across the top. I stood there in the hallway reading it like a lunatic. And every word was like sandpaper. She said she realized now that freedom wasn't worth what she gave up. That being with me had made her feel safe, loved, seen, and she let someone else's version of happiness convince her it wasn't enough. She didn't beg for forgiveness, not exactly. But she hinted at it. A lot. Said she'd do anything just to be in my life again. Even if it meant just being friends. She ended the letter with, I know you probably hate me. Maybe I deserve that. But if there's any part of you that still remembers what we had, please let me try to make this right. It was manipulative, emotional, well-written, in that calculated kind of way that made me feel like she was trying to control the ending of a story she'd already abandoned halfway through. And yet, a part of me still remembered those late nights on our balcony, her head on my shoulder, Max curled up at our feet. When we talked about growing old, raising kids, building a quiet life in a noisy world. It wasn't easy to forget. But then I got the DM. From a name I didn't recognize. Hey, you don't know me, but I met Ellie in Paris. We dated for a few months. I thought you should see this. Attached was a screenshot. Ellie, 2 months ago. Texting the guy. I only left him because Ava said he'd never take me anywhere. I guess I believed her. But he was the only person who ever made me feel grounded. Now I'm stuck here while she's with some rich douchebag who ghosted her. Karma, I guess. Still, I can't go crawling back. Not yet. Then a follow-up. Unless he still misses me. Then maybe I have a shot. I stared at that screen for a long time. That's all I was to her. A shot. A backup plan. A safe harbor when the fantasy capsized. I took a screenshot and saved it. I was done being the fallback guy. But what happened next? That wasn't something I could have predicted. Because Ava, she had her own plan. And she wasn't done with either of us yet. The message from the guy in Paris was still fresh in my head when Ava showed up. Yup. Not a call, not a text. She showed up. It was Saturday morning, and I was cleaning Max's bowls when I heard the knock. 3 sharp taps, like she expected the door to open on command. I opened it half an inch, fully prepared to slam it shut if it was Ellie. But there she was, Ava. Tall. Hair perfect. Dressed like she was on the way to a Vogue brunch. Sunglasses still on, even though we were in the shade. Hi, she said. Can we talk? I didn't answer. She smiled like I was being ridiculous. It's about Ellie. No thanks, I said, and started to close the door. She wedged her foot in the gap. Don't be an idiot, Aaron. I'm trying to help you. I stared at her foot, then at her. She held up her hands. I won't take long. You'll want to hear this. I let her in. Not because I trusted her, but because if there was anyone who could give me a full picture of the mess I'd been dragged into, it was the woman who started the fire. She walked in like she owned the place. Like she'd never laughed at my furniture or insulted my wine glasses in front of a dinner party full of my coworkers. I didn't offer her a seat. I stood by the kitchen island, arms crossed. Talk. She took off her sunglasses and sighed like she was already exhausted by how stupid everyone else in the room was, even though it was just her and me. Ellie's broken, she said. You know that, right? Because of you. No, Ava said, raising a perfectly arched brow. Because she believed in something she was never built for. I offered her a taste of a life I thrive in. She crumbled. That's not my fault. That's hers. My jaw tightened. She leaned against the counter like we were friends gossiping over coffee. She was so obsessed with making things work with you. It was cute. Sad, but cute. I told her 100 times, stable doesn't mean satisfying. You're fine. You're the guy who shows up. The guy who has a calendar for his vacations. You mean responsible. I mean boring. There it was again. That damn word. The thing she'd poisoned Ellie with. But here's the thing, she continued. When Ellie followed me to Paris, I thought she'd wake up, find herself. Instead, she spent the whole time crying in cafes and comparing everyone to you. She hated the noise, the men, the spontaneity. She missed her dog. She missed you. And yet, I said flatly, she still kissed some other guy. Ava smiled. She kissed 3. I blinked. She didn't tell you that, did she? Of course not. Ellie has always been about selective honesty. She lies with omission. And when that doesn't work, she cries. It gets her sympathy. I felt the burn creep up my neck. She's staying with her mom now, Ava added. But not for long. She's planning something. What kind of something? She wants to win you back. Full force. I heard her rehearsing a speech in the bathroom last night. Something about how sometimes we break the best things because we don't feel we deserve them. Ugh. Please tell me you're not going to fall for that. I'm not. Good, Ava said, standing. Because there's something else you should know. She opened her purse and pulled out a small envelope. Slid it across the counter. Inside, a ring. The ring. Not the engagement ring I gave Ellie. The other one. Ellie bought this in Paris, Ava said. She was going to give it to that guy she met. Proposed to him after 2 weeks. Said she felt empowered. He laughed in her face and dumped her the same night. My stomach dropped. You're lying. Am I? Ava shrugged. Maybe. But it'd be really easy to ask the guy and find out. He's still on her Instagram. Go look for yourself. She walked toward the door, turned back with that same smug grin she always wore when she'd ruined something. She's not here because she missed you. She's here because he didn't want her. Don't let her make you second prize. Then she was gone. I sat on the floor for an hour, ring in my hand, Max curled beside me. I wanted to be angry. I was angry. But underneath it, something colder had settled. Resolve. I pulled up Ellie's Instagram. Searched the name Ava had mentioned. Found him. French guy? Model type. No photos with Ellie, but I did find one tag from 4 months ago with a caption that made my chest go tight. Some people love the idea of you. Others just want a way out of themselves. She'd commented on it. Broken heart, I was both. I took a screenshot, added it to the folder, and then I made a call. To my lawyer. If Ellie thought she could write a sob story and cast herself as the tragic heroine returning to her faithful lover, she was in for a surprise. Because the ending would be mine to write. I scheduled the meeting at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Ellie showed up exactly on time. I don't know why that surprised me. Maybe I thought she'd flake. Maybe I thought she'd panic. But there she was, hair brushed, wearing a soft blue sweater I'd bought her 2 birthdays ago. Minimal makeup. No jewelry. Except for one thing. The ring. The one I gave her. Back on her finger. She walked into the cafe like she still had a place in my life. Like the last 9 months were a dream she could shake off with enough poetic apologies and teary eye contact. I stood when she approached, out of instinct, then sat without smiling. Hey, she said softly. Hey. She looked nervous. That made 2 of us, but not for the same reasons. You said you wanted to talk, she began, wrapping her hands around the mug the barista had already delivered to the table. I just want to say again thank you for even agreeing to see me. I nodded. She looked at me like she was trying to read something behind my eyes. Maybe love, maybe forgiveness, maybe anything that could give her hope. She found nothing. I've been thinking about how to explain what happened, she said. But the truth is, I can't. Not in a way that makes it okay. I left. I got lost. And I let Ava fill my head with poison. That's on me. I said nothing. I thought I needed more, she continued. More adventure. More chaos. More of whatever Ava called living. But all it did was make me miss what I had. You. I finally spoke. You mean the guy you were going to propose to? Her face changed. Slightly. What? In Paris, I said. The one you met after 2 weeks. The one who laughed in your face when you offered him a ring. The one Ava told me about. Silence. Her mouth opened, then shut. I kept going. And before you say Ava lied, don't. I saw the messages. I saw the photo. I saw the caption where you said you broke things because you didn't feel you deserved them. Aaron, No, I cut her off. Let's stop pretending this is about some grand romantic revelation. You didn't come back because you missed me. You came back because your fantasy failed and you had nowhere else to go. She looked like she'd been slapped. I leaned forward. You ghosted your own wedding. You kissed other men. You flew across the world chasing a version of yourself you couldn't even recognize. And now you want to come back like I'm a layover. Like I'm the airport you return to when the trip goes bad. Tears welled up in her eyes. But I kept going. You said I was boring. Safe. Predictable. And you were right. I am all of those things. But I'm also loyal. stable, and exactly the kind of man who deserved honesty, not betrayal. She opened her mouth, closed it again. The tears spilled. "Do you love me?" she whispered. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I told the truth. I did, with everything I had. "But the man who loved you? He died the night you walked out, and I buried him the moment you came back." She broke. Right there in the cafe, covered her face with both hands, sobbing. People were starting to stare. I stood, took out an envelope and placed it on the table. Inside were the photos, the messages, copies of everything. For her. "You're not the villain," I said. "You're just not my ending." Then I walked out. I haven't seen her since. Word got around, of course. Her mom called to apologize again. Said Ellie moved to a small apartment in Queens, started working part-time at a bookstore. Said she's in therapy. I hope she finds peace. I'm not bitter. I don't wish her harm. But I don't miss her. Sometimes I catch Max staring at the door like he expects her to walk through it. He doesn't understand. He loved her like she was forever. But forever doesn't mean anything if someone doesn't choose it, over and over, every day. Me? I started seeing someone. Someone who laughs at my calendar. Who thinks my boring Friday night pasta rituals are adorable. Who shows up. Who chooses me. Every time. Ellie taught me something. Love isn't about fireworks or heartbreak or dramatic goodbyes. It's about staying, even when it's quiet. Especially then.